Today I'm going to show you how to take your basic eye makeup look to the next level, sharing some of my favorite tips and tricks for getting that pro finish. So let's get started. To start with, I always apply an eyeshadow primer. Here I'm going to mix eyeshadow primer with a little bit of concealer or foundation. This is going to help to make sure that the eyeshadow primer works with your skin tone, so it's not too light or too dark. It's also a great way to shear off any eyeshadow primers that can be slightly drying on dry skin or more mature skin. The concealer helps the primer work with your skin tone and the texture. For oily lids, you want to use an eyeshadow primer that matches your skin tone as close as possible. Once you've applied your eyeshadow primer, it should feel slightly damp. This is actually okay because it will give the eyeshadow something to grab hold of. The basic areas of the eye would be the lid area, the crease area. This is where the lid creases into the eye shape, but also refers to any area above this point, but stopping underneath the brow bone. And the brow bone really isn't actually the brow bone. It's just the area underneath the brows. For this look, I've created a warm nude palette, but you can create any palette that you want using these tips. One is your base shade. This should be at least one shade lighter than your skin tone, or could possibly be the same. Then you have your contour shade. This should be at least one shade darker than your skin tone. Then you have your mid-tone, or your transition shade. I call it a mid-tone because it's a middle tone. And then we have our highlighter, which has a shimmer or frost or some sort of a metallic finish. Your mid-tone is probably the hardest to find, but it actually makes the biggest difference. Try looking at your favorite nude lipstick. Here we've gone for like a warm palette, so I've used a warm nude lipstick as a guide. You can see how your mid-tone works with the rest of the colors. It's almost as if you mix them all together and gave it a matte finish. For applying the eyeshadows, you are going to need a blending brush, a flat brush, a clean blending brush or a spare blending brush. This is just going to give you that nice clean blend. And then a small brush for applying, whether it's a pencil brush or a flat brush or a small blending brush. This one's my favorite. Starting off with the blending brush, we're going to take our mid-tone to start with. And I typically like to start off with my mid-tone on the outer edge of the eye, working over and back in the crease, keeping my hand nice and low, and slightly looking down in a mirror. By keeping my hand nice and low, it actually helps to blend it up ever so slightly, working upwards towards the brow bone. If you're not sure where to stop and start your blend, try creating a few parallel invisible lines. Use the edge of your nose, edge of your eye, and brow as one line, and then create a parallel line that works in that inner corner, and keep your blend within these 2 points. Taking our applying brush next, we are going to take the contour shade. Pick up a little bit of the product just on the outer edge and start to apply this on the outer quarter of the lid. You really want to start off with a very small amount because our lid should feel a little bit damp, and this may end up holding on to that contour a little bit too much. So slowly build this up. Start on that outer quarter of the lid, and then you can start to blend it a little further in, very slightly into the crease as well, making sure that your mid-tone is always higher than your contour. Don't worry about the application, just get the eyeshadow in the correct area, because now we're going to take our blending brush and start to blend this out. For this blend, I want you to lift your hand slightly higher, so it's about nose height on the face. This will prevent your contour from blending up too high. The higher your hand, the lower the blend. The lower your hand, the higher the blend. As this is a contour, we want to keep it nice and low to prevent it from moving past the mid-tone that we've already applied. Remember to keep within your 2 points as well. Next, we're going to take our blending brush and we're going to take a fade shade. So your fade shade is sort of like the bonus shade that's not in your palette. It could also be your blush if you prefer. Take a small amount of this onto your clean blending brush and just ever so slightly kiss the hood of the eye or the meeting point of the brow bone and the crease. So feel for the actual brow bone. Feel where that area kind of jots out and just tap a little bit of this fade shade in that area. It makes it look like your blending skills are top notch. Now we're going to take our flat brush and we're going to take that matte highlighter shade. So it's about one shade lighter than our skin tone. We're just going to tap this underneath the brows. So this is typically the brow bone area, but really it's just close to the eyebrows. And the reason we do this is to keep it nice and clean in that area. This will actually sharpen up everything else that you've applied. Sticking with that same brush, take some of your concealer and I want you to apply this on that inner third of the lid. So what I typically do is I go up right where the lid creases into the eye shape. I drag it downwards then, bringing it along the lash line. And you want to start on that inner corner and then sweep it to about the halfway point of the lid. Take your time with this. You're basically creating a cleaner lid. Once you've done that, take your fingertip and I want you to tap off any of the remaining excess, particularly right where it meets the darker contour shade. Now we're going to take our flat brush again and our matte base and just set the concealer in place. This will give you that really nice clean line, but also a soft blend in the crease above it. Taking that flat brush and the highlighter shade this time, so something with a little bit of shimmer, focus this on the inner corner of the lid, then very softly sweep this across the lid over the matte color that we've already applied. Now you might have noticed that we have quite a divide between our light lid and our contour shade. So we need to fade the two of them together. So we're going to take our fade shade and we're going to apply this right where they meet, right in the middle. Now you can use your mid-tone for this as well. However, a fade shade just adds that little bit more of a different tone, different texture, different depth, which once again brings your eye makeup look to the next level. Taking that flat brush and a little bit of that contour shade, we're now going to work underneath the eyes. Keeping it really close to that outer third of the lid, blending it then to the outer half, as close to the lashes as possible. So get right underneath those lashes. Then take your mid-tone on that same brush and start to sweep around this area. What this will do is it will fade out the contour that you've already applied and give you that really blurry line. It's all about the blur. To finish, take your clean blending brush and just sweep around everything, holding the brush really far down on the handle. This is just a gentle sweep to give you that perfect blend. And that's your basic eyeshadow application taken to the next level. Now I want to add in a few extra steps to give you that pro finish. We're going to line the inner rim of the eye with a color that matches our skin tone. A lot of people will go directly to white. This actually can be a little harsh, so try to make sure that this pencil matches your skin tone perfectly. We're going to apply it on the waterline or the inner rim of the eye. What this is going to do is to clean up this line and actually create more of a sharper finish. And our eyes are going to look slightly bigger too. So it's like a 2-for-1. Now I'm going to take a felt tip liner. I'm going to rest my pinky on my cheek. And I'm going to do what I refer to as invisible liner. Basically, this is creating a really, really thin line, getting right to the root of the lashes and deepening and darkening them ever so slightly. If you deepen and darken your lashes and right by the roots, everything else looks a lot more sharper and defined. You really shouldn't see this. It's an invisible line. So I take the felt tip eyeliner and I just work this really close to those lashes and also down on top of the lashes as well to remove any residue of eyeshadow. Whenever you're applying eyeliner, remember to keep blinking, moving your eyes, and then coming back to the same position of looking down in a mirror. This will create much more of an even finish. And you won't worry about blinking and messing up the line. And you can see how much sharper everything looks just by applying a little bit of darkness right at the roots. And then all you have to do is finish off with your lashes and mascara. I want you guys to try this out. I know you beginners can definitely do this. It's a little time consuming, but it's a great way to up your skills. Check out the other videos on the screen, hit that like button if you enjoyed, and if you're new here, hit subscribe. You've been watching The Makeup Chair, and I'll see you next Monday. Today I'm going to show you guys how to create a basic eye makeup look and share some of my favorite tips and tricks. I've already prepped the lid with a little bit of eyeshadow primer, but you can use foundation, concealer, whatever works for you. I've also left my lid slightly tacky. This will grab hold of the eyeshadow, but for beginners I would recommend setting with a little bit of powder. This will give you an easier blend. I often get asked about the parts of the eye, and probably the main part that you need to be aware of is the crease area. This is basically where the lid creases into the eye shape, but it often refers to anything above this but below the brow bone. Try not to overcomplicate it, but just make sure you're paying close attention to your blend in the crease. As long as you leave a gap underneath your brows, you're good to go. And the easiest way to create any eye makeup look is to use a shadow at least one shade lighter than your skin tone, a mid-tone shade, and then a shadow at least one shade darker than your skin tone. Your mid-tone is actually the most important and it can be a little tricky to pick, so I actually recommend using your favorite nude lipstick as a guide. If it looks great on your lips, chances are it'll work in your crease too. So just use a corresponding eyeshadow to match it. We're going to start off with our mid-tone, so choose whatever works for you. And we're using a blending brush to start with. This is anything with a fluffy finish. We're going to start this in the crease of the eye. So apply this from the outer corner, working over and back above the lid. Making sure to leave a gap just underneath the brow bone. And also remember to keep your eyes open. This will help you figure out the shape that you're creating. For hooded eyes, this is a great way to camouflage any hoodedness, as it almost contours the hoodedness away. If you don't know where to stop and start your eyeshadows, use your brow, edge of your eye, and edge of your nose as a guide and blend in from this point. As long as you're blending in, it will complement your eye shape. And this area is where we've applied our midtone. We can now move on to contour. Your contour shade is at least one shade darker than your skin tone, but can be anywhere up to a black shade. We're going to apply it with that same brush and keep this on the outer lid and into the deep part of the crease. For a more precise application, squash down your fluffy brush and get it deep in that crease. This will prevent you from bringing your contour up too high, which is a very beginner mistake to make. Once you've applied it in that area, open up the brush and blend over and back. Remember to keep your brush high on the face. This will make sure that your contour doesn't blend too high, and it'll keep it nice and low and deep in that crease. The higher the hand, the lower the blend. And as you can see, your contour ends up within the area that you've mid-toned. Your mid-tone is always the highest, so make sure to keep that contour nice and low. Now we're going to take a flat brush. This is anything with a smooth, flat line. And we're going to use this to apply our highlighter shade, which is about one shade lighter than your skin tone. You're going to apply this on the inner corner of the lid, focusing really close to that inner edge, and then blending across the lid. I like to do a sweeping down motion across the lid, while the other eyeshadows have been blending up and over. This will give you a cleaner finish. You can also then take something with a little bit of shimmer and just pat this over the top of the lighter matte shade. And there you go. That is the finished look. Super easy basic eye makeup look that you can then adapt to work for you. Finish off in whatever way that you want. And if you have any questions, I am always here to help. So leave a comment, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Today I'm going to show you how to create a soft glam look, perfect for mature eyes. We're going to start off by prepping with a little bit of concealer. I'd recommend using concealer mixed with an eyeshadow primer, as some eyeshadow primers can be quite drying on mature lids. But prepping the lids in this way will give the eyeshadow something to hold on to while creating a blank canvas for us to work on. I've chosen these 4 eyeshadows to create this look, and I'll talk you through each one that you need. The first one is at least one shade lighter than the skin tone, and this will be used as our highlighter or our base. We then have a contour shade, which should be at least one shade darker than the skin tone. Then we have our mid-tone or transition shade. This should be somewhere in between our contour and our highlight. And then we have our 4th shade, which is a highlighter. This can have a little bit of shimmer to it and should be about one shade lighter than the skin tone. These are just 4 single shadows, but there's lots of different palettes that have this variety, so you can definitely recreate it. As far as brushes go, you're going to need a blending brush, a flat brush, a clean blending brush, which I'll explain a little bit later, and also a smaller brush, just for any detailed work. We're going to start off with the blending brush and our mid-tone. We're going to apply this in the crease of the eye, stopping underneath the brows. Now for mature lids or hooded eyes, you want to make sure that you really work your mid-tone into that hooded area. This will help to camouflage it, recede it, and create a soft, blurry finish. If you're working on yourself, try keeping your eyes open. This will allow you to see the shape that you're creating. You really just want to focus on this area just above the lid. This will help to recede any hoodedness and soften that look. We're then going to take the smaller brush and we're going to take the contour shade. We're going to work this on the outer edge of the eye and deep into the socket. You want to keep this nice and low. Your mid-tone is always higher than your contour, so keep it underneath this line, working on the outer edge of the lid. You also want to make sure you're keeping within the lines. Don't worry if you've gone outside them, because you can always clean it up afterwards. But using the edge of the nose, eye, and brow as a guide, you want to blend in from this point. This will just make sure you get that nice, soft, lifted appearance. We're then going to take the clean blending brush. What we're going to do is blend over everything that we've already applied. This will soften out any harsh lines. And you're not going to apply any eyeshadows with this, you're just blending with whatever's already there. By using a clean blending brush, you're going to stop that muddy appearance that can happen. Try holding the brush really far down the handle and just softly sweep over everything. We're then going to take the flat brush and we're going to take the highlighter shade and apply this on the inner corner of the eye and softly sweep it to about the halfway point of the lid. Try to keep this nice and low. You don't want to touch the crease with this. Everything else on the lid is kept quite matte, and this is just to add a little bit of shine. Sticking with that same flat brush, we're also going to take the matte shade and we're going to apply this underneath the brows. This will just add a little bit of definition, and you can also apply it over the top of the highlight to soften any of that really harsh highlighted effect. This will give you that really blurry effect, which is perfect for mature lids. I then finish off by cleaning up on the outer edge of the eye with concealer. This will give a lifted appearance to the eye, some lashes and mascara, and that's the finished look. If you'd like to see more looks on mature lids, definitely let me know in the comments section. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, and hit that like button. I'll see you in the next one.